So let's talk about how you got injured.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, there was always something going on every single day. And then finally, May 14th, 2007, we wake up like any other day, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure you got waters in your truck, make sure you got enough ammo, make sure you got enough grenades, whatever it is that you needed. You get up an hour or two before, you prep all your shit, make sure your radios work. Just a, you know, common thing. Make sure that everything's running. And so we wake up, we can do everything. I was the gunner, so I make sure I had enough ammo, I had everything going on. We're good to go. We roll out the gate. As soon as we roll out, IED goes off right behind my vehicle, and fuck, boom. We're like, oh shit, here we go. Thankfully, it was a small IED, so we assessed the situation. It had just blown the tire, the spare tire that the Humvees have in the back. It hit that, and it went off, and there nothing really happened. So we were like, all right, cool. We're just looking around. My team leader, or my squad leader, which was right beneath me, Compos, taps me on the leg and he goes, "There's your alarm. Wake up." I'm like, "That's a hell of an alarm." Like, fuck. All right.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Shut up. Give me a cigarette." Because I used to keep my cigarettes in my pocket all the way down so he could reach it because he used to always just jack cigarettes from me. So he gives me one. We wake up or whatever. We keep going. Man, not even 300 yards later, we're rolling and all of a sudden, I was the second vehicle on the convoy out of five. The first vehicle starts getting engaged. So let's say we're traveling southbound. They started getting shot from the left-hand side. And when they realized it, they couldn't turn right away. So we turned right away and they went ahead and turned on the following road. And as we do that, as soon as we turn, man, I just see combatants outside, like holding AKs and everything. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. So I just get on my 50 count and I start laying rounds. I kill a few of them. At that point, we're back into formation. We're first, and then we got all four trucks behind us. They start maneuvering, and I'm like, all right, this is definitely a planned attack. Here we go. And as soon as all that happens, I remember going over a bump. And keep in mind, we've been there 11 months now. We should not even been there. We should have been on our way home because you typically do 12-month deployments. But when we had been there for 9, that's when they extended it to 15 months. So instead of us doing our workup to go back home, we were still patrolling. And so 11 months, I know this area like the back of my hand. I've been there multiple times. I'm like, wait, that's not supposed to be. But when I was processing it, the loudest IED that I've ever heard goes off. And up until this point, I've been blown up about 13 times. So I've been through a couple of IEDs. This one was not the same. What we found out was they had actually dug a hole from a house all the way through the middle of the street and started putting explosives underneath it. It was 200 pounds of explosives.
Jesus.
And it was a command detonation, which means the guy was looking at us to set it off. What he should have had done was set it off in the middle because that would have killed everybody. But I think he panicked. And when we were almost over it, it hit the back of the vehicle, threw the Humvee up in the air about 4 or 5 feet, something crazy. And this is about a ton vehicle.
Yeah.
Hits down. And as soon as it hits down, like my legs buckled from the gunner's hatch, and I fell into the right-hand side. And I remember looking at Harkey. And I looked into his eyes, man, and his eyes he was done. He was dead. He got killed on the blast. And I just remember laying on him and I'm like, well, shit, this is it. In the infantry world, it's either you come home alive or you don't. I never knew that there was such a thing as you can get injured, you can come home and you'll be fine. That was not in the plans for me. I was like, this is where I fucking die. And I remember just laying there and I just watched the doors on the left-hand side open and I watched my buddy Catterton run on flames. And then I look over and I see my buddy Fleming on flames too, and they're running. But it was like slow motion, but fast at the same time. Like It was kind of weird to explain. Everything slowed down and I just looked at him. And I remember just looking back at Harkey and I started praying. Up until that point, we had lost about 14 guys. And I remember being mad at God. I really wasn't praying anymore. I just wasn't a man of faith anymore up until that point. And I remember laying there and I was like, all right, well, fuck, this is it. And so I started praying and I was like, God, please take care of my mom. Because I knew that my mom was going to be the one that was going to take it the hardest.
Yeah.
I think my dad, I'm not saying that he wouldn't have been sad losing a son, but I felt like he understood being a service member himself.
Yeah.
And so I was praying for my mom, I was praying for my brother and my sister, and I was just like, asking God for forgiveness for not believing. And as I was doing that, I remember Campos grabbing my leg and he was like, get out. And I was like, nah, man, like, nope. And in that moment, I remember just feeling like this energy, like this light in me, dude, which I tell people all the time, it was God. Like, whispering in my ear, like, not today. This is not where you die. Get up and get out. And so I get up, I manned my 50 cal, and I was about to jump out, but I noticed that Campos couldn't get out. The flames were so bad, his equipment had burned into the seat and he couldn't get out. And I start seeing enemy on the rooftop, and I just started unloading the 50 cal. And when I started doing that, one of the rounds cooked off in the barrel and it blew up. And I just remember kind of putting my hands up. And I was like, holy shit, I need to get out now. And at that point, one of the other guys had run to the front and had pulled out Harkey and Campos. And I was like, cool. So as a gunner, you're always get on the roof and you jump on the engine and then down because it's pretty high. It's about 6 feet, 6.5 feet tall. And I remember I was going to jump into the engine and I was like, holy shit, like the engine's on fire. If I would have jumped, I would have gone straight down with it and that would have been it. And same thing with the trunk. The trunk was just all fucked up. There was just, flames everywhere. So I jumped to the side and I'm on flames. I didn't even know that I was on flames. And so I grabbed my weapon, my M4, and I jump out. As soon as I hit the ground, man, I broke both of my femurs. And I just remember feeling the fucking pain. I was like, oh shit.
Oh my God.
And I'm on flames. And so, I third grade, you go back to third grade, stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah.
But I had already fucking dropped. Time to roll. And I started doing it. And let me just tell you, that shit doesn't work. Not with diesel. Like,
No.
I was still on flames. And I remember at that point, one of my buddies had ran from the back to the front, like where we were at. And he's like, close your eyes, close your eyes. I'm like, why? Before I can say, why, hits me with a fire extinguisher and he pulls me out. And I'm like, fuck, I got all this shit everywhere. And he's like, I'll be back. I'm going to go get the medic. I'll be back. I was like, okay. And I just remember still feeling the flames from the Humvee. So I start pushing myself away from the Humvee. And there's a door behind me. And so I turn around. I take 3 shots at the door just to make sure that there was no enemies coming by. I can kind of still see people on the rooftops. And I'm just taking pop shots just to make sure that they stay away. Run out of ammo. And I'm like, fuck. And so I'm sitting there. And out of nowhere, I just feel 2 Black Hawks. Or I didn't even know they were Black Hawks. I feel 2 helicopters over me. And I'm like, holy shit, that was the fastest medical evacuation of all times. Well, what had happened is there was 2 Blackhawks in our area of operations, in our AO, that were going back to base and saw the black smoke popping up. And they're like, what the fuck is that? So they decided to come check it out. Thankfully, they did, because when they came around, there's about 30 to 40 insurgents coming our way with RPGs, RPKs, AKs, everything. And these guys just, unleashed hell on them.
Just fucking lit them up.
Fucking lit them up. And I remember just shells falling everywhere. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was kind of something like Black Hawk Down, dude. There was shells everywhere. These guys smoked them. They established communications with the guys on the ground, told them what had happened. They're like, we'll be right back. We got to go fuel up. We've been mission all days. And so they went quickly to fuel up. And I don't remember if they came back after that or not. I'm sure they did. But they pretty much saved us, man, because they were getting ready to wipe up the whole fucking platoon. Like, we could have been on the news, or like, insurgents kill this whole, platoon or whatever. And so I just remember being there, and then one of my buddies runs by, and he just looks at me and he goes, dude, are you alive? And I'm like, I think so. And he goes, fuck, I got to get you to a Humvee. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm going to pull you up. I'm like, well, hold on. I think my legs are broken. And he takes a quick glance and he goes, no, you're fine. I'm like, cool. So he grabs me and picks me up. We start walking. I'm putting all my weight on him.
How the fuck are you walking?
No idea. Adrenaline was so fucking high, like so high, that we start walking. And if you've ever opened a Humvee, you know that those doors weigh like fucking 200-300 pounds. And so he goes, I'm going to let you go real quick. I got to open the Humvee. And I was like, cool. So he lets go of me and goes to open the door. All my weight goes back on my legs and my fucking femurs just break again. I just fall back. I remember watching him, Humvee, and then I hit the ground and I'm just watching the sky, and he comes over to me. He's like, are you okay? I was like, I told you my legs were broken. And he goes, what the fuck? My adrenaline was so high that I couldn't feel the pain.
Right.
At all. Like, I could not feel the pain. Puts me in the Humvee. closes the door. The driver that was in the front, first day in Iraq, first day in patrol. Like I mentioned earlier, we were losing guys left and right that we were having replacements coming in.
Yeah.
And this was his first trip out the gate. And rightfully so, he was scared, he was screaming, you know. I don't know how I would have reacted if that was my first day. I don't know. But he's screaming, and I just reached over, and like anybody would do, I slapped the shit out of him. And I said, shut the fuck up and give me the fucking radio. And so he gives me the headset to the radio, and I call it up. I'm like, hey, this is Bluetooth. You know, I got 1 KIA, 1 killed in action. I got 4 wounded. They didn't know that I was one of the 4 wounded. They're like, okay, we'll get medical evacuations ready to go when you guys roll through the gate, you know, talking to him. Medic jumps in, he starts working on me. And
what was he doing?
On me?
Yeah.
He was just pretty much trying to assess the situation and what was going on. And so he was kind of ripping some of the clothes that was kind of sticking to me. So it was, I mean, it was quick, right? And I remember looking at him and I was like, man, I need some water. And he goes, I can't give you water, dude. You're badly burned. Like, hold on, let's get you back. And I'm like, I'm fucking thirsty. And he goes, I was like, look, bitch, I outrank you. Give me some fucking water. And so he gives me a water bottle. Made the biggest mistake of my life. I took 2 sips and then I poured it on my face.
Oh.
And so the dirt, the fire extinguisher, the fucking blast, all the powder from the blast, the grenades going off in our vehicles, the fucking gunpowder, everything just rolled into my eyes. And everything went dark. I couldn't see anything. I could not see anything. And I'm like, fuck. And at that moment, I was like, well, fuck, what do I do now? Do I panic or do I just fucking sit here and stay calm? Like, what do I do? And so I asked the driver, I was like, hey, where are we at in the formation? He goes, we're first vehicle. And I'm like, fuck. So I got to guide this guy back because he has no idea where the fuck we're at. So thankfully, like I said earlier, we've been there 11 months. So I knew this fucking area like the back of my hand. And so I was like, all right, here we go. This is what we're going to do. And he goes, once we have comms from everybody agreeing to go and we're ready, he's like, let me fucking know. And he goes, ready to go. And I said, all right, start driving. And he starts driving. I was like, you're going to see, I can't even remember the color of the house. You're going to see this house here. You're going to turn left there. He goes, I see it. One thing I remember for the rest of my life was these people had one of those bells that, you know, the churches have that are giant in their front yard for whatever fucking reason. It was just there. And I was like, you see that giant bell? And he goes, I see it. I said, take a right. Then you're going to punch it and you're going to see our base. And it was just straight. And he's like, I see it. I said, let me know when we're about 100 yards out. And he goes, we're about 100 yards out. And I call back. I was like, we're rolling in. Open the front gate. And they open it. We roll in. And as soon as we roll in, you know, they open the door. And I remember Johnson was opened the door. He like opens the door, looks at me and he goes, oh shit. And I close the door. And he's like, what the fuck? And he opens it up. He's like, dude, I got to get you out. I'm like, there's only 3 medics in there. There's 4 of us. Get the guys in the back. They're worse than me. And he goes, no, we have enough medics. Thankfully, we were right next door to an SF group. So their medic came over to help. And he's like, we got enough people here. And I was like, okay. So he goes to grab me. When he grabs me, my skin just peels off. So like he fell back as he was grabbing me. And he, like, the expression on his face, I'll never forget. Because I looked at him and then I looked at myself and I was like, oh shit, like this is real. And so they finally get me out. They put me on a stretcher and I'm laying on the stretcher. They start working on me. And the minute that I saw my guys come in, like I saw Campos, I saw Fleming and Catterton. Campos wasn't speaking. I told Campos, I was like, hey, we're going home, brother. And he just kind of nodded at me. And I was like, cool. And as soon as I saw them, I knew that we were in a safe zone. So I relaxed and the fucking pain came, dude. Like I had never experienced pain like that in my life. And I hope I never do ever again. But it was such an excruciating pain that like I grabbed the medic and I was like, dude, give me some fucking morphine. Please give me some fucking morphine. He goes, I got to stabilize you, bro. Hold on. I was like, fucking stab me, please. And then he finally does. And I don't remember this part, but he told it to me when I was already in the hospital. He said that as soon as I got it, I grabbed him and I said, dude, if I die, it's on you. And I was like, fuck. I was like, yeah, I got to take you out drinking, bro. I'm so sorry. He's like, oh, it's okay.